Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Joy of Sticks. Dickhead here with your Atari ST gaming channel, and I'm going to bring you something a bit different today, something a bit new for the Joy of Sticks anyway. You might have seen quite a few of these tier lists knocking about on YouTube, on Twitch or whatever, and of course, being a bastion of original content that we are here on the Joy of Sticks, we are jumping on that bandwagon, both feet. I'm going to have a go. Just basically let me know if you enjoy this, then I'll do some more. I just thought it's a nice way to get some videos out there because I don't have a ton of spare time at the moment, and this kind of video might be something that's just a bit quicker, a bit easier for me to put out. Basically, it's just me having a good old natter about some games, so it doesn't take quite the same amount of time and preparation as the other videos, so it might be a way of me getting a bit more out there. Anyway, let me know what you think. But before we get started, I just want to say an absolutely massive heartfelt thank you to all of you that supported me during Movember. I can't tell you how it feels. It's humbling, really humbling. So thank you very much. I managed to raise just over 400 quid in the end, which is a great thing. And then my team at where I work, all together we raised just over £1,100. So yeah, absolutely delighted with that, and thank you very much. I should put some pictures up of me and my terrible moustache that I managed to grow. And I also managed to run the 60 kilometers in the month as well. Well, I say I ran the 60 kilometers. I did injure myself on the penultimate run. Did something horrible to my calf muscle, so I had to walk, or perhaps hobble should be the word, the last 3 kilometers extremely painfully, and it's still hurting. It's still really sore, but yeah, managed to do it. But now Movember is over. We are in the month of December, and my top lip is liberated. I am cleanly shaven once again, which I am delighted about, because that was a absolute nonsense on my top lip. It looked ridiculous and it was itchy and horrible. So anyway, should we crack on? Right, first tier list. I don't know why I picked this as my first one. I'm not sure. I think it's because it's come up in conversations recently, especially when I was doing the top 50 games. Lots of people talking about the Bitmap Brothers. As far as developers go, they are probably the most... Are they the most famous, or one of the most famous on the ST and Amiga? And there's a certain style that their games bring, so I thought it might be interesting to do a tier list of their games. Yeah, and I'm reluctant to say too much at the beginning, but some people say often it's style over substance. But yeah, we might dive into that in a minute anyway. So for those of you unaware of how a tier list works, it's like this. You know, you look at certain items and then you put them in a tier. We've got S all the way. Normally it's S to D, but I've done S, A, B, C and an F. The F is for absolute failures. Anything that's completely dog rough and not worth your time will be put in an F. But obviously S is for the absolute cream of the crop, and it gradiates down in quality. But let's dive in. What have we got first? Okay, we've got Cadaver first, or Cadaver, as I always used to say when I was little, but I'm pretty sure you pronounce it Cadaver. What's Cadaver then? It's basically a action, not so much action really, but an adventure game, and an isometric adventure game. And what's nice about Cadaver is that it continues that traditional isometric adventure game genre into the 16 bits, because during the 8 bits, especially on Spectrum and Amstrad, there were tons of great isometric games especially from a company called Ultimate. Absolutely wonderful games. And yeah, I'm trying to think which my favourite was. I loved Alienate. That was cool. And which is the one where you turn into you're a werewolf. Is that Saber Wolf? I think so. Maybe not. Night Law. I'm getting them mixed up now. But anyway, another really good one was from Bernie Drummond and what's his name? Rittman and Drummond, isn't it? They did a Batman in that style, and that was brilliant. Oh, and Head Over Heels, that's another brilliant example, and there's a really good ST version of that actually. But Cadaver really kind of takes that and boosts it into the 16-bit era with just absolutely gorgeous graphics and slightly more in-depth puzzle and inventory stuff, I think it's fair to say. But it's really difficult, really hard to find your way around. Now, from a graphical point of view, it is S tier. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. From a gameplay point of view, it's definitely not S tier. But do I put it in A or B? I'm not sure. I'm going to go with B for now. It might get a bit of a boost up when we look at the others, and I think, no, it's better than that game. I might boost it up to A. I don't know. It's just that in terms of replay value, there's probably not a lot there, really. Once you've seen how delicious it is and you've solved all the puzzles, you've probably seen enough of Cadaver, to be honest. But it's a good game. It's a good game. It's a solid B. A solid B. Okay, what we got next? Let's see. Gods. Okay, Gods. All right, this is going to be a tricky one because, again, looks gorgeous. I think we're going to say this for most of these Bitmap Brothers games, aren't we? Looks absolutely mint, but gameplay, there are some elements that let it down a little bit. It's a solid game. It is a solid game, but your main character in the game is really, because it's so well animated and it's such a big, gorgeous sprite, it's actually a bit unwieldy, and I find the game a bit clunky because of that. And there are many times where the character's just not agile enough or can't quite shoot in the right direction and stuff like this that just make it a bit. That being said, it does have one of the best shops in video game history. So I'm tempted to put this in B as well. It's not bad enough for a C. It's a B. It's a B. It's a good game. And again, it's a tricky game. It's difficult, but the more you play it, you do get further and further in and I think it's learning to overcome how the character controls is the big thing. And there are plenty of times where you need to know what's coming, which is a bit annoying. But also, when you know the game, you get a bit further, and that feels rewarding. So yeah, another solid B, I feel. All right, next one. Let's have a look. We got Magic Pockets next. Now, Magic Pockets. I remember Magic Pockets mainly from, I think it was Saturday morning TV called Motormouth, where people used to shout down the telephone to get somebody to play the game, and what nonsense is this? I mean, they used to try so hard to make things interactive in those days, didn't they? And just a terrible way to do it. But I remember it from that, and I didn't play it very much until much later on in the ST's life, because it looked, again, Bitmap Brothers looks amazing, huge gorgeous sprites, incredible use of the Atari ST colour palette. You just, watching it on TV, just thinking, whoa, this game looks so good. But then when you actually get your hands on it, barring that first 5 minutes of novelty of, wow, this is really cool, it soon wears off. So yeah, the game has tons of charm. It's a bit more cutesy than your normal Bitmap Brothers game, but it still has tons of charm, and the novel nature of it's a platform game, but you got these pockets where you're whipping out whirlwinds to get the baddies, and you can hold down the fire button to get a big whirlwind and capture baddies, and there's lots of little secrets with the pickups and power-ups and things. So it's a good, it's not a terrible game. It's most certainly not F, but it doesn't take long for you to realise that beyond those good things that I've mentioned, Bitmap Brothers kind of forgot to put the game in. They forgot to put the good game design in, definitely. Because as the way they ramp up the challenge is just by making the enemies bullet sponges, which takes away any enjoyment from the attack mechanic in the game whatsoever. It's a really bizarre game design choice. But C might be a bit harsh. Perhaps if I did put the D in, then the C wouldn't seem so bad. It's definitely not an F. It's not an absolute fail, but it's, just really disappointing, I think. Okay, next one then. We got Chaos Engine. Now, do I even need to mention that it looks gorgeous? Because all of these games look gorgeous, but Chaos Engine just takes that to another level as well. I mean, it looks as good as Cadaver, but then the presentation of everything else kind of lifts it just that little bit higher. The opening sequence has some of the most delicious pixel art that you can see on 16 colour Atari ST. Just honestly phenomenal. You look at it and you think, there's only 16 colours there, really? Yeah, just amazing. Now in terms of gameplay, it's really compelling. Now it's difficult, it's really challenging, and you might find that you die on stage 2 of the first world the first time you play it, and that's a bit frustrating. And the game demands a certain style of gameplay, and it's very rigid about that. You can't just run and gun, all guns blazing, like you're playing Contra, or Mercs is probably the better comparison. You have to be slow and steady and meticulous and careful. But still, what's a game? S-class. Don't at me. I might have upset a few people there. Okay, next one. What we got? All right, we're on to Speedball now. Now, this is the original Speedball. Came out in 1990. No, it didn't. When did the original Speedball come out? I've made this mistake before. 88 maybe? 89? Oh, I don't know. I'll have to find out afterwards and edit it in. But yeah, so this is the original Speedball. Now, you can tell it was a great game because they wanted to make a sequel of it. But you can tell it was limited because they wanted to make a sequel of it. Because it's really good. It's a really solid future sports sim. The concept behind it is brilliant. It kind of echoes a lot of British comics of that day as well. This is kind of when 2000 AD, not necessarily in its prime, but during that period where it was becoming perhaps a bit more adult and a bit more gritty and hard-hitting. And Speedball and a lot of Bitmap Brothers really kind of has that kind of similar feel to it. So it chimes with me. I used to play Speedball in the playground at my school when I was 9 years old, 10 years old maybe, and we used to pretend to duff each other up and play games of Speedball. But that's it just sparked my imagination. And then the actual game, if you look at it as a sports sim, it's solid, really, really solid. It's a lot better than many football games on the ST that try and be a bit more of a sports sim. So I'm going to shift that into A, I think. It is really, really good. Really good. But then, of course, we've got Speedball 2, which is, of course, the sequel. And what they do is they take that kind of solid game and they just add element after element after brilliant element after fantastic addition and round it out, and it just becomes a complete package. So they add the season modes, the like league modes and knockouts are far more fleshed out. Your opponents have more character. You can buy and sell players. You can train your players. I think you could do that anyway, but it's a bit more in depth anyway. Like you can buy some power gloves for your characters and things like that. There's more to it. And then the actual game is, when you're actually playing a match, is more fleshed out. The stadia are bigger, and there's more things to do, more ways to earn points, and you can duff up your opponents so badly they get carted off. And it's just Speedball plus. It's everything that a sequel should be. It improves on the original in pretty much every way. S tier. It's going right in there, right at the top. I don't think many people will disagree with that, to be honest. It's genuinely one of the best games on the Atari ST. I used to, when I went to university, which was, when did I go? 98? 99? One of those years. So obviously the ST was long dead by that point, but not in my heart. It was still well alive. So I took my ST with me, and it proudly sat underneath the telly in our living room next to, what did we have? Would it have been the Dreamcast by then? Certainly the Nintendo 64. Maybe the Dreamcast came just a little bit after we were there. But yeah, it sat there alongside those others. But one of my housemates used to call it the Speedball machine, because he would say it's the only thing worth playing on it. But having said that, he would play it a ton, an absolute ton. Okay, what we do next then? All right, Xenon 2. Now I might upset a few people here with Xenon 2. I might. Yeah, what do we say about Xenon 2? I have a feeling I could devote an entire video to Xenon 2. So I'll try and give a little potted version of my opinion of it. Now, Xenon 2, it's debatable whether it should be even on this list, because what did Bitmap Brothers do with it? It was published by Imageworks. A lot of Bitmap Brothers games were before the Renegade kind of era, I think. But it was actually developed by Assembly Line. I think they did it in Motion, which is a cool game. But anyway, so is it a Bitmap Brothers game? It's got their name on it, and I'm sure they had a lot to do with the kind of creative oversight of it. But I don't know. Let me know. Does it belong on this list? I wonder what you think. But anyway, the game itself, again, it looks the absolute business. It's got all the trimmings of a fantastic shooter, kind of in the Tyrian mold, the PC kind of shooter mold, rather than a more Japanese or Eastern style shoot 'em up. It's got I said Gods had the best shop in the 16-bit game, didn't I? But no, maybe Xenon 2 does. But in terms of presentation, it's beautiful. Superb music. That intro music from Bomb the Bass is brilliant. Yeah, but then you start playing the game, and it's too difficult for a start. But the way that they falsely inflate the difficulty is by chucking enemies at you from all angles when you can't possibly expect them to come from behind you and stuff like that, and that's irritating. The fact that your hitbox for enemies to hit you is massive, but quite often the enemy hitbox to hit them is tiny. There are many times when you could be firing an absolute stream of bullets up the screen, you know, if you got auto fire on your joystick, for example, but still enemies slip through that stream. Just, yeah, I don't know. It just, with a few tweaks in terms of difficulty level and things like that, hitbox and game speed and things, it could be a really good game. It could be one of the best, but it's so frustrating. I'm going to put it in C. I'm going to get some hate for this, I think. I'm going to put it in C. About as good as Magic Pockets. I think that's fair. If I put it this side of Magic Pockets, it's a little bit better than Magic Pockets. But there are plenty, because I did the Great Atari ST Game Survey, and lots of people voted for Xenon 2. It's a really popular game on the ST, but I don't see why, apart from the presentation. The music and the graphics are undoubtedly brilliant, but I really just don't like playing the game, so it's going in C. Sorry, guys. Please don't hate me. So then we come on to the prequel, the first Xenon game. Now, this is a different kettle of fish entirely. It's, I mean, they both bear the Xenon name, and they're both horizontal shoot-em-ups, but they are so different in character, in design, in how they play. I'm just going to straight out and say it. I love Xenon. It's such a cracking game. It's so good. You've got this mechanic where you can be a tank on the ground, you press the spacebar, whoosh, turn into a jet and go up. So, you know, you're strategically choosing when you do which one. It's a push scroller when you're a tank, and it's an automatic scroller when you're a ship. And I mean, are there any other shoot-em-ups that do something like that? I mean, that's so cool. The design of it's great, with this kind of, I want to call it bas relief. It's not really, it's more than that, but it's, you know, it's got this very metallic sheen. It's solid in terms of hit detection, and yeah, it's just one of those just really well crafted games. It has one major issue, which is probably, is it the only thing that stops it from being S tier? Maybe. Is that they were worried, I think, that when you're playing the game, reaching over for the spacebar isn't necessarily great. Now, if your ST is right in front of you, you can actually hold your joystick and then just tap your knuckle, or your knuckle or something on the spacebar as you're playing, and that works brilliantly. But I guess they were thinking if your ST's under the telly and you're, got your joystick on the sofa, that's not going to work at all. So what they decided to do was implement this mechanic where you waggle the joystick and then your ship changes. But unfortunately, that just means you accidentally change all of the time, and it's really irritating, really irritating. So there should be in the game, if anybody who's skilled in hacking can hack into the game and remove the joystick waggle or make it a selectable option, or I'd love you, because it would just take this brilliant game with a massive flaw and make it perfect. But yeah, so where are we going? I'm gonna put it in A. It is kind of on the same kind of level as Speedball in terms of gameplay and how solid it is and presentation. Yeah, A is fair. A is fair. Maybe just sneak it this side of Speedball because it's slightly better. Will it let me? There we go. All right, so there you go, guys. That is the tier list of Bitmap. Of course, this is my opinion, and I'm fully aware that you might think I'm wrong, but of course I'm not. But your opinions might be different, and I'd love to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. Where would you rank each of these games? Did I miss a game? I don't think I did. Are there any other Bitmap Brothers games? There might be. There might be. If I've missed something, let me know. Where would you put it? Is there anything glaringly wrong about where I've put stuff? I don't know. What do you think? I think this is the best thing about having a YouTube channel, is just creating a conversation with people. It's lovely to have people wading into the comments and letting us know what they think. So please do that. It's awesome. It's awesome. Anyway, there you go, guys. Bitmap Brothers Atari ST tier list. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, let me know, because I'll make some different developers, or maybe like a genre tier list, or I don't know, joysticks or whatever, magazines. Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah, just let me know. If you like this format, I'll do some more. All right, guys, thanks ever so much for watching. Do take care.